What's up, guys? Today we're doing a question currently being asked by Amazon. This question is called rotting oranges. Let's get to it.
Wait before a nigga ever had to stay strapped, cause these niggas still tripping, Cadillacs dipping, still pistol gripping.
What's up, guys? Today we're doing a question called rotting oranges. This question is currently being asked by Amazon, and the problem description is, in a given grid, each cell can have one of three values. The value 0 representing an empty cell, the value 1 representing a fresh orange, and the value 2 representing a rotten orange. Every minute, any fresh orange that is adjacent 4 directionally to a rotten orange becomes rotten. Return the minimum number of minutes that must elapse until no cell has a fresh orange. If this is impossible, return -1 instead. Cool. So looking at this example and then just like thinking about this problem generally, this is like the perfect BFS problem. And that's because from each rotten orange, we're going to be expanding out one level each minute 4 directionally to rot all the other oranges, and then at the end return how many like expansions out we'll need. So maybe I'll put like a BFS visualizer above or something, but basically we know we want to use a breadth first search. So in order to do that, we're going to need a queue, and then at each level we're going to pop off the queue the current I, J, and minutes, and then we're going to check 4 directions if there's any oranges, and then if there are any oranges and they're not rotten, we're going to add those to the queue and then keep going through that breadth first search. So to start coding this up, we want to make a queue, and that can be done with collections.dequeue, and then we want to iterate through our grid for I in len grid, for j in len grid at 0. And we want to add all the values to our queue which are equal to 2, which means it's a rotting orange, which tells us that we're going to start rotting all the other non-rotten oranges 4 directionally from that orange at minute 0. So we want to add to our queue.append I, j, and then 0 because at minute 0 they're already rotten. So then after this we want to get our minutes because we're going to be returning the minimum number of minutes. And we want to do this with our BFS, and we only need to put in our queue there. And then at the end, we want to check and see that all of our oranges are indeed rotten. And the way we can do that is just like loop through one more time. For row in grid, if 1 in row, return -1. Otherwise, we want to return our minutes because we found the minimum number of minutes was this number from our BFS. So now, given that we can code this BFS correctly, we should get the right answer. So we want to initialize this class method def BFS self and queue. So we want to say while the length of our queue is not equal to 0, we want to pop the value off the queue, and then because we use a tuple, we can just unpack this. Say I, j, and minutes. Equals minutes equals q dot shift or q dot pop left, and then now we want to get our new i's and j's 4 directionally, and then see if there's anything bigger than our weight. So actually, one thing we're going to want to do, we're going to want to set this weight to 0, and then every time we reset the weight, we want to compare the minutes to and only update weight if it's the maximum weight, because we want to take the biggest weight to make all the oranges rotten. So now that we have this, we want to check in all 4 directions. So for new I, let's say new I, new j in, and then 1 0 0 1 -1 0 0 -1, new I, new j equals I plus new I, j plus new j, and then we want to check and make sure this is in bounds. So if new I is greater than or equal to 0 and new I is less than length grid. So actually we would want to pass the grid as well. and new j is greater than or equal to length 0, and new j is less than len grid at 0, and grid at new I, new j equals to 1, so we know that's something we'd want to rot. We can say, so if we know this is 1, then we can turn this grid at new I, new j equal to 2, and then we can add this to our queue. So we can say queue.append new I, new j, and our current minutes plus 1. And then up here, we'd want to do our check and say wait equals max of minutes and wait. So this is where we update our wait. And then down here, we're going to be appending our new I, new j, and our minutes plus 1. And cool, this looks pretty good. So then when we finish running out of here, we want to return our wait, because that should be updated. Cool, let's see how this fares on the first test example. Int object, oh okay, so it should be for I in range, and then this should be for I in range also. So I hope that made sense. If you guys have any questions, please put them down below. And if you have any other questions you guys want me to do in the future, please just comment them down below or message me on Patreon. Thanks so much, guys. Have a good one. Peace.
Got hoes in the hotel just like the Temptin', making money off of square niggas.